me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch.
Back on the Morning Brew with friends with our buddy Greg Frost. It's nice to have you back. I
morning.
felt kind of lost without having you to talk to once a week.
Well, I appreciate that. I missed you too.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I missed my weekly mortgage update. And there's been, first things first, though, I know we talked a little bit in the headlines about the president's new budget.
Right.
But that's the government shutdown and the risk of actually not paying bills was a
Right.
huge deal. But it really affects the mortgage industry, right?
Well, it does because the government has what's called its full faith and credit
Right.
behind several agencies that do business in the mortgage space.
Right.
And then it has assumed credit behind others, which are Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac.
Right.
It's not full faith and credit, but it really is
Right.
because the government stands behind those two
Full
agencies.
trust and credit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because of that, the borrowing costs of those agencies is very low. So the consumer benefits by the low borrowing costs of those agencies because it's passed on to them in their interest rate.
Right.
And as we see, interest rates are still, people
Super
are probably
low.
probably getting tired of hearing historically low levels.
Right.
Because we're making history every day that we
Right.
have interest rates below 4%. Every day that they're below 4%,
Right.
they're historically low, since time immemorial. So
Right.
it's very important for the government to be stable, for their cash flow to be stable, even if they have to borrow to get it. The long-term ramifications of increasing the federal debt are secondary to today's needs.
Right.
And
Right, but keeping the government funded, not only does it maintain the credit going
Right.
forward, but it also brings some stability to the market.
and
for people
stability is
who-
so important,
And I think it's really underrated, right?
It is. It's an emotional thing, and when people are emotionally unstable, they're wondering about their paycheck. They're wondering about their long-term nature of their job. That the old government job ain't what she used to be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, it causes people to stop investing. When they stop investing, one of the things they stop investing in is real estate.
And buying a home.
Buying a
and-
home, right. They
right.
don't settle down because they feel that they might have to uproot and move to gain new employment if this employment with Uncle Sam doesn't work out.
Right, right.
So-
And I know you guys are facing some issues with what it's called the TriG.
TriG,
And
yes.
we've talked about this before, but it's really kind of it's kind of rubber's meeting the road right now, right?
Well, it went into effect October 1st, so we've had it for a month now.
Right.
And what it is, it's an effort on the part, a very misguided effort, I might add, on the part of the government to make sure that everybody in the mortgage industry is effectively communicating closing costs and the actual cost of mortgages, cost of borrowing to the consumer, which we used to do with a series of disclosures. What Uncle says...
I remember when I bought my house, I had that stack of paperwork.
A stack of paperwork. So now Uncle says from the mortgage company's perspective, got to put it all on one form. And that's what it is. It's been the combination of disclosure forms. But they moved the disclosure further up in the transaction. So now the disclosure has to take place within 3 days after you establish the interest rate. And within 3 days, you've got to have full disclosure. You've got to disclose the cost of the transaction. And you've got to be accurate. And the accuracy tolerance is what's harsh. It's very accurate.
Well, see, on my end, if I was buying a house, all this stuff sounds really great. Like,
It
great,
does.
I want to know that I'm not getting taken. I want to know that I'm getting the accurate rate. I want to know all of this stuff.
Right.
But it puts a huge burden on you guys. The
Well, and
back of the house work on this is really intense.
The back of
right?
the house work is intense. We've had to add staff. We have repositioned people. But most importantly, what we fear and what the investors who purchase mortgages fear is the government's been very heavy-handed at handing down punitive damages. You've seen where the big banks have paid billions of dollars of damages for mortgages that they bought from somebody else. So what this runs the risk of getting the secondary markets, the people that buy our mortgages, hesitant to buy them or wanting to buy them at higher prices to hedge their risk
Right.
of the punitive damages that the CFPB agency has the ability to levy.
Right.
So everybody's walking on eggshells. Everybody's walking on eggshells.
What does that do to your relationships with the secondary market? Does that make it really...
It makes them very tenuous, and they're very guarded, and they want to price risk in to their pricing.
Is this already happening? Are you
Oh,
already
yeah,
seeing
sure it
this?
is.
Yeah.
That's why you see it, the rates creeping up towards the 4% level.
Oh.
There's risk being built in. And because nobody wants to pay a big fine, and
Right.
like the minimum fine that you see coming out of the CFPB, $10,000.
Wow.
On one loan.
Right.
Oh, and 10,000 on that one,
And
and
these
10,000 on
could
that
be
one.
little rounding errors.
Little
that-
rounding errors, insignificant. And one of the big problems for the industry is we don't have the ability to cure the error. If we would be able to go
You
and
can't
say,
go back and say, "Oops,
we owe you
credit your
150
account."
bucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, we owe you 150 bucks. We rounded this wrong, or
Yeah.
we figured this wrong. We owe you $87. No, they're making us buy the mortgage back, rewrite the mortgage, reclose the mortgage, and mark to market on the mortgage, which is a
Wow.
very costly process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tens of thousands of dollars sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's got us in hamstrings. It's got us all worried. We haven't seen any fines yet.
Yeah.
They said, we're going to be nice, we're going to be gentle initially, and then we'll lower the boom. And we're all worried about when they start lowering the boom.
Right. Right.
You got a bunch of bureaucrats and people in Washington, D.C. on this CFPB. This agency is isn't funded by Congress. It's
Kind of it's
It's-
off on its own.
It's off on its own, no oversight.
Yeah. Well, more importantly, I'm wondering now, what is the chances of interest rates going up or going down? I mean, now that the government is kind of stable, I've been noticing the jobs reports are stabling out. It looks like the last few months anyway, we've seen the jobs numbers go up. What is that kind of
Now
thing?
they've leveled out to declining. Okay, so in answer to your question, I don't see any possibility this year or the early part of next year of the Fed taking a position to raise interest rates. The economy is just too fragile.
Right. I know the next meeting is early December.
And no chance of it happening.
No chance in December.
No.
And we're going to say that now.
I'm-
Put it on
I'm
record.
3
We
for
are
3
going
on
to-
this now.
You are 3 for 3 on
3
this.
for 3.
We're going to mark today's date. What is this? November 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
November
day.
3rd. All day. We will say Greg Frost says no interest rate changes until March.
And no possibility of interest rate changes until March.
I love how you hedge that.
Well, I hope I'm not. I hope the economy takes off.
Right.
But if it doesn't, I'll be sitting here in January saying no possibility in March.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
I love it. Well, thanks, Greg. Interest rates still super low.
Interest rates are great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. I think I get to try on clothes.
Oh, good for you.
Yes. All on Morning Brew with friends.